So there's lots of news. Of course, the big story everywhere is this this issue of Signal, and there was this report came out before Trump's top officials used Signal to chat about military classified confidential stuff. They say it wasn't classified, but most people say it should have been. And the government warned them that Signal is being targeted by hackers. And Trump is interpreting this as saying there's a flaw in Signal, but it's not really true. The main targeting technique is just social engineering. The point is I use Signal, and Signal is primarily on your cell phone. But if you want to, you can put it on a computer, like your laptop, but all it's doing is copying data from your phone. It's mirroring the data to a computer. So you can send someone a message saying, click on this link, and that'll pair my computer with your Signal. And you just have to come up with a story to convince them to click on a link and approve it. And then they're all getting a copy of your Signal messages. And that's why the government doesn't approve it for classified data, because it's not secure enough. It doesn't have these things. Also, a proper government secure app would record everything for later review, and it would force you to have an official government login to get in. Like nobody would be able to get there unless they get officially logged into like the DOD first. And then no reporter would be able to just wander in. Yeah.
But how about the journalist that found himself within Signal? He was a part of it, or he was not?
Well, he was added by mistake. That's the problem, because Signal is just a public service like Gmail. So you search for people, and you can't find out who they are. You can search for them by name or phone number, but it could be anybody. You could put in anything for the name. That's why when he first got in, he thought it was some kind of prank. People pretending to be Pete Hegseth and the vice president and stuff. And he just said, this is some kind of joke, and I'll let it go. But then when it turned out to be real, he said, this is crazy. And that's why you shouldn't be the same thing happened, by the way, to Sarah Palin years ago. I think back before the first Trump administration. She had an official government email when she was like governor or something, but she used Yahoo. And because she did, a kid was able to get in his Yahoo account, because Yahoo had a password recovery page that would just ask you a question, and it asked, what city did you meet your husband in? And he just found on Facebook and found out where she met her husband, what high school she went in. So he got in. And that's the problem. These public services are not secure enough for serious military work. And there are two huge problems. One is that they're really not designed for that, so they don't think enough about security. And the second one is the whole world is using it. So there are all these people that are not in the government at all. Whereas if you use for example, Microsoft Teams, then you first have to log into the domain controller. Nobody can get in unless they're really an employee of the company. So that right there greatly improves the security. And I imagine, I don't know what the official government app for this is, but I imagine it's probably Teams, because Microsoft makes their products and sells them to the military. And it'd be something like that. It'd either be a Microsoft product or maybe Oracle product or Cisco. But they make these web conferencing programs, and they make versions for the military.
Google Groups works the same, more or less?
Well, Google Groups had the same problem. Anybody can get in. The thing is, these other things force you to log into the official company network first, which is a big step in security. And then, and they also have, I know the Cisco WebEx is what all my people either use that or Teams. All the companies I consult for use WebEx or Teams. And I know WebEx can keep a log of everything and record who was in every meeting and have all these restrictions and stuff. That's what you need. It's the difference between a cryptocurrency project and a real bank. A real bank has all these regulations and records and people auditing things and government requirements. And these crypto people just throw something together the way the Doge team does, so it looks sort of all right, and then just run it. They don't care if it's only 80% good.
Thank goodness that they are techie, they are experts.
Yeah, well, they are experts at the way Silicon Valley does things, which is to move fast and break things. And if you're making something like Twitter, that's okay. It works most of the time, and nobody really cares about the errors. But when you're handling large amounts of money or military data, you have to have a different attitude. I had to learn this when I came from the world. Remember when I had a PhD in physics, and I was working at financial work, and they said, I don't know, do you have enough programming experience? A client came in, and I said, well, I have a PhD in physics. And he said, that's bad. I said, why is that bad? He said, well, what do you do when you do an experiment and something goes wrong? I said, well, then you try it again, repeat it. He said, that's what's wrong. You can't have that attitude. You have to make sure it's right the first time, in financial work. I had to learn that. It was a whole different way of thinking. Instead of thinking of the fastest, most clever way to do it, you had to think of the way to do it where you could prove it was right and have it audited by somebody very simple-minded. Had to make it simple and clear so anybody can just go back and add up the numbers, make sure they're right. I never thought of that. You didn't have to do that in physics.
Very good. No experimental approach then.
Yeah, that's right, because I just do an experiment. If it fails, try again, try again. Some of them work. You throw away the ones that fail, but you can't have that attitude in financial work. Anyway, so that's what's going on here. And so, anyway, they used Signal, and they should never have been using it at all. In particular, they hadn't been warned. The government had already warned them, don't use Signal because we know it's being attacked with social engineering attacks. And not that there's anything technically wrong with Signal, although it probably has bugs like anything else, but it's considered the best product for normal users to use, but not for military. And so that's the Wired has an article about this, talking about this, how, it's not that there's something wrong with Signal for what it is, it's just not the right tool for this job. And in particular, one of the people in that chat about the bombing in Yemen was in Moscow with his phone, and you're not even supposed to take your phone to a hostile nation because they'll infect it with malware and stuff. They tell you you're supposed to only use your official government phone, and you're not supposed to take it to a foreign nation. But apparently somebody in the Trump administration decided that Signal was the best app because they read like a CISA recommendation. A few months ago, the CISA came out and they warned Americans, you should be using an encrypted chat app. You should not be just sending normal SMS because of Volt Typhoon. The Chinese are in our telephone networks and they haven't been able to kick them out so they can read your SMS. So they said, you should use Signal instead. So they took that as a recommendation and started putting it on all the government-issued phones, they say. Although the people from a few years ago in security said, we would never put that on the government-issued phone. It's not good enough. But they put it on because, of course, it's better than sending SMS. But you shouldn't be doing that either. You should be using a government military-grade encrypted chat app, which I'm sure exists. It's probably a...
Could I propose a counterintuitive explanation? How about they did it on purpose?
Oh, well.
Leaking, because, and I'm saying this based on the use of WhatsApp that in some other countries politicians are doing, and it seems that it's being used strategically to let to filter, to let some messages to go out to signal.
Well, they absolutely do leak things on purpose, and the Trump administration leaks more than any other presidency because the people all try to undercut each other. So the reporters really love the Trump administration because everybody would leak them stuff all the time. And they do use Signal and things like that for that. But the problem is, this was really embarrassing and harmful to the administration, so I don't think it was intentional. Now, you're right, though. They do deliberately leak things all the time. In fact, Trump does this. He will call up reporters and pretend not to be himself. Like he used to call up and tell them that he makes more money than he does and that he was a big success when he wasn't. So he knows manipulating the media is a big part of his style. Yeah. So that absolutely does happen. So anyway, now they've assigned Elon Musk to investigate this, although Elon Musk knows nothing about security. And I don't think there's any actual technical security issue here. I think it was a human error. He was looking for people to add. And he was looking for somebody like J.D. Vance, and he found some guy who just did his initials J.G. and added him thinking it was one of the guys he was looking for. And, that's the problem. You just see some handle people have typed in. And anyway, somehow he got confused and added an extra guy, and nobody noticed. Whereas I must say, even when I'm doing consulting work without any military secrecy, this is one of the standard things. When a meeting starts, somebody reads through, and if they don't recognize a name, they ask, who is this? Because the one I do, sometimes people phone in. And all there is a phone number. So at the beginning of the meeting, we'll say, who's that and who's that? They make sure that only the right people are in the meeting. That's just a basic, how you start a meeting. Anyway, all right. So this one's pretty interesting. There are these online free file converters, which I'll probably be using one later. They'll convert PDF to document and stuff. And the FBI's warned these things often put malware on your machine, which is interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but of course they could. They could convert the file, then you download it and use it. They could add malware to it.
PDF is easy to embed.
Yeah. Or a doc or zip files or whatever. He's right. They're warning that these things are risky, which I guess they are. I hadn't thought of that. But anyway, and this is something Paul Asadorian just mentioned. I don't have Microsoft Office for a while because I lost my, I think on an old computer I installed it. I don't have a product key, so it's annoying. I tried using OpenOffice. It doesn't work very well. LibreOffice doesn't work very well. He says this OnlyOffice is the best. So I just got it. I'm going to try it for a while. This is the one he recommends. It's like OpenOffice. It's free. It runs on every operating system, and it gives you, the ability to open Office documents.
I tried for a little while, and now it seems that it's being installed by default on new laptops. Kingsoft, the company is Kingsoft, but basically is a suite that mimics the Office suite, and also
Kingsoft is Chinese Office suite.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
it's
That's
Chinese.
interesting. Okay.
Right.
It might be good, although.
And that is free. It covers. It's much better than OpenOffice.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Although
Chinese.
I can't really use Chinese software right now. Just like I can't run Kaspersky and I can't run TikTok. Being a contractor for corporations, it means I can't be running these things. Like there's a time when I used Telegram, and then the Ukraine war started, and I said this is a Russian product. And then when I found Signal, I said, I can't be. And then it turned out to be also flaws. But even so, I said, I'm sending my data straight to Russia. I don't want to have to explain to my clients what the hell are you doing. Just like Kaspersky, can't run that either, just for political reasons, even if it got no technical flaw. Anyway, all right. So I think that's enough of the news. Let me stop that.